Hello, and welcome. My name is MiniBetrayal, and this is Factorio 1 per minute, episode 7. Last episode, we made this monster here. Let me just continue with the science. Which makes all of the copper cable we will need throughout the game. Today we're going to work on the electronic circuits. First, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what I have done since the end of the last episode. Let's go back to Alt View. Since the end of the last episode, I have added in more power because we're going to need it quite soon. We're already consuming 1.7 gigawatts, and that's only going to go up. I need to be back in this view. What was the other thing I did? Yes, I have also tidied up the train tracks a little bit. The old iron and copper outposts are no more. I did leave a little bit of infrastructure behind just to clean up. Most of it's actually finished now. Where's the other one? Up here. This one's got a little bit more in it. And it's already full up, actually. I'll have to go and do something along those lines at some point. What else? There was something else I did, and I'm not immediately remembering. Yes. I had to put this signal in. I'm not entirely sure why. I think there was a train here that wanted to go to this station, even though there was a gap in here. That meant that there were trains overflowing the oil queuing section, and everything else was getting backed up. I have put in this little set of circuits up here. So what you see when you highlight this power pole is what the buffer has in surplus of what is needed. So so the buffer always wants to have 1 million iron ore. At the moment it has 1,002,500, 2,400. Also, if you remember when I sort of plugged some steel in just to help the main base go along, I've done the same thing with copper, 8 belts of it. So we now have plenty of copper, and the iron is keeping up nicely. The steel's doing fine. Limiting factor at the moment actually appears to be red circuits for some reason. Red circuits themselves are not limited. They're getting all the resources they need. Just wants more production. But nothing seems to be slowing down. All of the science is still going full pelt. If I find yellow science over here. This is backed up as far as the assembly machines, as is purple science, backed up as far as the assembly machines, blue science, all the way down to red and green, backed up as far as the assembly machines. Rockets are still going nicely, up to 129 rockets, with the 130th ready to go as soon as these two chests both run out. I do not... After all of the saying, I'm not going to change anything on the old base, I think plugging in that copper will be the last thing I have to do. One other slight change I made on me oil outposts are on my oil outposts. I have set up a circuit condition similar to how these ones work. So this train station is only enabled if there is iron left in the deposit. Because the oil is a sort of ongoing thing, what I've said here is if the oil is greater than or equal to 75,000 in these buffer tanks, 75,000 oil is how much a single train can carry. Did consider doing the same thing for water, but with all of these it'll fill up almost instantly, so I don't need to worry about that. There's lots of... Okay, it looks like copper and iron both went at the same time there, so it used up most of the stations. But that's fine. So how much extra do we have in storage? 43 and 29,000 extra. Oh, there was also a slight mistake with the uranium. You can see that I have 218,000 in excess of what I actually want. the circuit condition on that one is only supposed to be 100,000, so I have 318k there. That's because on these trains, instead of the waiting at the parking area until the circuit condition is less than 100,000, it was waiting there until the cargo was less than 100,000, which was always, so that was just keeping going. Anyway, before we get started with the circuits, there is one thing I would like to do. Here's today's blueprint book of the blueprints I have ready. This. I mentioned at the end of the last episode about batteries. I have decided that I am going to put it in here. I'm just going to squeeze it in here with this section that I've already made. So let me pop that down. This is what we need for the batteries. We need it's about half a belt's worth of batteries. Let me just consult my spreadsheet. Batteries. Yes, about 0.4. It works out as 17 and a bit batteries a second. So the way I figure it, this should work. So we just need to plug these in up here. Also, with the batteries now taking extra iron, by the time it gets to the gears, the gears and the batteries together both take up more than a full belt of iron ore. So this drops down here. So we now have another gap on our belt, just here. So there's only 7 in this row at the moment. The batteries themselves I've just thrown to the top of the bus. Okay, so let's get that plugged in. A belt there for the copper and a belt there for the iron. And that should start making some batteries for us. Okay, so I haven't counted it or anything, but this looks about right, a little bit less than half a belt's worth of batteries. Okay, moving on. So we've got this space here. I'm hoping this will be enough for what we need. So we've got our 3 circuit types: electronic circuits, advanced circuits, and processing units, or green, red, and blue circuits. Where's my blueprint book? Here it is. This one here is my blueprint for green circuits. I'll pop that down so we can have a look at it. We need 11.5 belts. That requires 24, or more than 24.5 of the belts of copper cable that we've got. And it will also require 8 and a bit of the iron plate belts that we've got. So this will be the majority of both the copper cable and the iron, which are the biggest 2 things on the bus so far. Now it works out that with the 1 compressed belt, you need something like 2.1 belts of the copper cable in order to get it done properly. So we have 3 input belts here. With the speed and the productivity, we need 3 of these belts, so I've just fed 1 into the first one. This one here goes under and into the second. This one here loops round and goes into the third. So we need, 12 of these, or 11.5, but 12. Alright, let me do that. Whew, okay, that took about an hour longer than I thought it would. Mostly just to fit everything in, but I have managed it. We have our 24 and a bit belts worth of copper cable coming in, along with 8 and a bit belts worth of iron, all feeding into the circuit production facility. The circuits themselves, they come out the bottom, and they cross the tracks and head back up here to join the bus. So we've got 12 belts worth. We only need 11 and a half, but 12 belts. So let's plug this in and see if it works. So let's see, I want that. Go. Okay, now you'll notice that each of these has 2 bits that aren't being filled. That's because 6 belts are feeding into 8. That is in turn because of the extra productivity, so they won't start filling up until these belts back up. And we have our first circuits being made over here. The iron comes down underneath and then back up. Oh, I've just realised that this one is not compressed because there were right in the corner. These 3 here weren't put in. There we go. Alright, other than that, where's this belt coming from? This one here is backwards. This first one here, this first line is getting no copper. Why is that? Because that wants to be one of them. Okay, this is killing my frame rate down to less than 30 frames per second. It's even killing my UPS at this point. I need to keep an eye on that. If I zoom in, it starts to get a bit better. Alright, well that does that. Let me do a little bit of tidy up, bring the bus up to where it needs to be, and then we will move on with red circuits. Alrighty then, moving on. We need about, well, it's a little bit less than 2 compressed belts of red circuits. So if I bring up my book, is it this one? Yes, this is my blueprint for red circuits. So I'll just plot that down so we can have a quick look at it. And I'll power it so it stops flashing. Okay, so what happens here is we have 2 inputs. One side will be copper cable, the other side will be split evenly between plastic bars and electric circuits, the green ones. This will not compress a blue belt. 4 of these together will compress a blue belt. The only reason I've split it up like this is because this will eat on its own about a full belt of copper cable. So we need 4 of these together to compress 1 belt, so we need 8 of these. So I will do that, I guess. I might also move the power around, so rather than tile them like that, if I can tile them there and instead maybe use medium power poles, then I can save a bunch on the beacons. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, so now we need to feed in the things. Okay, so what have we got? So copper cable, this will take 5.3 belts. We've only got about 5.7 belts left. This is the vast majority of the remainder of whatever's left. So we should be able to do this nice and simply. Okay, I think we are ready to go here. We will be moving down to much less than a compressed belt of copper cable. So all of that massive stuff we made just over here is all gone by the time we get here. That's part of the reason I'm doing things in the order I am. Plastic will also go down to less than a compressed belt, and we'll be using 2 and a bit belts of our green circuits. So these 2 up here are gone by the time you get over here. And this gives us a little bit less than 2 compressed belts. Well, in fact, this gives us 2 compressed belts of red circuits. But we don't need that, so things will back up and things will work. Anyway, let's plug it in, see what breaks. That does appear to be working. Alright, so once again I will tidy up the bus, bring everything to the same place, and then we will move on to processing units. Okay, ready to move on with blue circuits. Where is my book? Here it is. This is my blueprint for blue circuits. So, we'll have a quick look. Now, we need just a fraction more than half a blue belt of blue circuit, 0.5022 and a bit belts, so 20 point something per second. So this does not provide a full belt because it takes a while to make blue circuits. However, with a setup like this, if I add even a third one on, so let me tell you, so we've got sulfuric acid coming in here, red circuits coming in here, green circuits coming in on this side. If I add a third one on, a full blue belt of green circuits at this speed will not be enough to support it. So we can only get away with 2. However, to get the total throughput we need 26.09 of these machines. So if I just divide that by 2, we need 13 and a bit of these setups. So I'm just going to have to do 14. So let's think what's a nice way to do this. And here we go. As near as I can tell, this works. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to see about that. So let's plug it in. Okay, so let's put the sulfuric acid in first. We'll just make sure that gets everywhere it needs to. Okay, that looks full. Okay, these all look as though they have the necessary sulfuric acid. So it only needs 5, so it doesn't take a huge amount. Next, let's put in the advanced circuits. So that's the red ones here. Now, we only need like 0.7 of a belt here. So that should go in, and then it should split to that side. And then to the other side. Let's keep doing science in the meantime. And then it'll go down, and then to this side. And I'll speed this up for you. Alright, so the red circuits have managed to get everywhere they need to, so that's a promising sign. Now, as for the green circuits, this needs 7 and a bit belts. So what I've done, I've fed in 8 belts, but as far as the green circuits are concerned, these are 2 separate modules, so this is actually 4 and 4. Then we have the usual priority splitting off as they go down. But that means the extra bits are actually these 2 in the middle here, which is why we've got this funky little setup here. The extra bits would then merge onto 1 belt, because there should only be about 0.8 belts worth of extra. So let's see how it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have a winner. Alright, so this will it'll take a little bit longer to back up, The blue circuits themselves have just been added onto the bus. Now, we have an awful lot of tidying up to do, because now instead of 30 belts of copper cable, we have one. Instead of 12 belts of green circuits, we have 2 and a bit. I'm not sure if that's 2 and a bit or slightly less than 2. I'll work it out. If it is slightly less than 2, I'll measure them down. But anyway, I need to do a lot of tidying up. So, yeah, here I go. And there we are. So, we've moved the bus around a bit. You can see all of these extra bits and bobs that were up here and all spaced out now. I've brought them down. So, from top to bottom, we have empty barrels, lubricant barrels, sulfuric acid barrels, water barrels, petroleum barrels, light oil barrels, heavy oil barrels, and crude oil barrels. So all of our barrels together. Next section down, we have sulfur, solid fuel, steel and steel, iron and iron, copper and copper. Then we have our fluids: sulfuric acid, steam, water, crude oil, heavy oil, light oil, petroleum, and lubricant. All full, which is good. Next one down, we have copper ore, stone bricks, coal. Ooh, thank you, autosave. Coal, iron sticks, stone, uranium ore, wood, fish. Next one down, we have iron ore, uranium-235, uranium-238, iron gear wheels, pipes, pipe to ground, plastic, and copper cable. And the last one down, we have our circuits. We have 2 rows of green circuits, we have 2 rows of red circuits, 1 row of blue circuits, and I've also brought the batteries down here. So, I think that is our biggest module so far. Yeah, almost twice as big as the intermediate products one. Next episode is a sort of bits and bobs type episode. I've been looking at my spreadsheet. We have, I'll read down what we're doing next time. Iron axes and steel axes, repair packs, concrete and refined concrete and their hazard varieties, stone walls, lamps, landfill, gates, and radars. So, yeah, a little bit all over the place next time. But for now, let's finish with a name badge. I don't think I can get it in line with the other ones. I think that would bump into the red circuit production. So let's just put it here. And it says circuits. The bad thing about these nameplates is they look kind of awful in this view, but they look fine from, well, not that one, but they look fine from the map view. Oh well. So we'll let the bots finish up here. Next time we'll get to work on all of those little bits and bobs. I don't think anyone has probably ever put iron axes on a bus before. Actually, I say that, I'm probably not the first person to put everything on a bus. In fact, I know for certain someone has done everything on a bus before. I think it's Scarhoof, did the Megabus series. But yeah, he was just putting everything on the bus. I don't believe he was worried about throughput of any kind. Anyhow, I will see you in the next episode. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, I have also added in another passenger station up here. It is called PAX Circuits, because that's where it is. It's just a little bit more convenient, I think. I'm also solidly considering making another one of these, because running backwards and forwards all the time, it's getting a little wearing. But anyway, that's something to consider. Also something to consider, we're getting worryingly close to these two deposits, the of course, outpost iron and outpost uranium. So I will have to think what I want to do. I may turn the bus. We may end up going south down here and landfilling all of this. Anyway, as I was saying, that's something for future me to think about. In the meantime, I will say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again soon.